edition of Health Matters. My name is Marie Sinatra.
And I'm Ava Sammarco of Health Focus.
And we're coming together once again because we just have so much fun doing it to bring you a crossover show. Isn't this so much fun, Ava?
It is. It really is. And that's why we're doing it again.
Absolutely.
We had fun on the last one, too.
Everybody keeps commenting. They're enjoying watching the show, watching us, bringing them wonderful guests of a variety of health topics to bring you information, because that information gives you power. But only if you act on it, right?
That's right. Knowledge is power. Only if
That's right.
you act on it.
That's right. So get your pens and papers ready, because we've got a great show for you today. And we always want to thank our sponsors. I always like to thank Melinda from Renaissance Hair Salon, where she uses all natural products to bring out your natural beauty. You know, we're always talking about them. I love that little tagline. So you say, is she bringing out my natural beauty? It's really important what you put on your skin, on your body, as well as what you put in your body. Yes?
It's true.
Absolutely.
It's true.
And we also want to thank Western New York MRI, where they use state-of-the-art, cutting-edge diagnostic imaging equipment. What does that mean? That means that they're committed to the community because they help bring you this program in part, and they have the most advanced technology so that if you do find yourself in a health challenge, you know where to go.
Right. And I'd like to introduce our newest sponsor, the Pain Rehab of Western New York. They have physical therapy and co-laser therapy as well, which they are introducing. It's a low-level laser. It's a revolutionary, natural, and effective method to treat pain. Healing at the speed of light.
At the speed of light. That's cute.
I love that.
I love those little taglines. You know, being a marketing coach, I
Right.
enjoyed that because those kind of things are a little catchy.
Catchy.
And
Catches
you
your
know,
eye,
we're going to
yes.
we're going to be going on location there too next month. So you want to stay tuned because we got some good information from them too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So today we have from Planned Parenthood, Colleen Schuffhauer, women's health nurse practitioner, and Linda Ulrich-Hagner. She is a board member of Planned Parenthood and a former teacher in the Kenmore Tonawanda school system. So welcome to both of you.
Yes.
Thanks.
Welcome,
Thanks.
ladies.
We're glad to be here.
So glad.
Very
Thank you
glad.
so much for sponsoring this program in part today and being a guest to share some great information.
Good to be
Yeah.
here. Hope I can help.
Absolutely. Tell us about Planned Parenthood, the services that you offer.
Well, Planned Parenthood provides reproductive health services. We also provide some sort of education that we do in the community, and we also do a great deal of our work is also advocacy for reproductive health rights. Our reproductive health services are for males and females, so a lot of people don't know that we do see males for reproductive health.
You know, I have to tell you that I was doing my homework this morning and went on the website, which you definitely want to visit that website, and saw the part about that you treat men too. And you know, I did not know that.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
even though your organization was a guest on this show last year.
Right,
I
right.
didn't even know that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that, and I think males we do, I should say that we perform painless sexual disease testing. So it's really important for males that we perform painless testing.
Right.
So
Painless testing.
Painless testing.
Yeah.
That men tend to get a little fearful, but we do provide painless testing.
I'm not going to comment.
No,
I'm not going to
no,
comment.
no. It's painless testing. It's painless testing.
They should only know what it's like to be a female and
No,
have to go
no,
through
no,
all that
testing.
testing.
Right.
Yes. What would your typical client be?
Usually our typical client, our number one demographic is usually between the ages of 19 to 24. So a lot of our demographic is of the college age. And then we also see an array of patients that are 15 to 19, and then probably the next age group I would say would be from 24 to 29. Okay, so most of our clients are of college age. And mostly female too, of course.
What would you do if you had a real young client come in?
Young meaning we do see some 13-year-olds and some 12-year-olds, but there's more investigation in why they're visiting there. A lot of the times these clients, the 12 and 13-year-olds, are coming in with their mother because there is some sort of other condition going on that they need help with.
Right.
Okay, so they can have irregular periods. Planned Parenthood provides reproductive health services. Okay, not just sexually transmitted, not sexual testing. We provide comprehensive reproductive health services.
And tell us a little bit about the misconceptions of birth control.
Oh, there's
many, many, many myths out there, and I think to hear the myths, I think you have to talk to some teenagers. They tell you some really crazy things.
Really?
Yeah. I can't even think off the top of my head. But a lot of the myths that you hear about birth control is that they're going to get fat. You need to take a break from birth control. You're going to lose your hair.
Wow.
Yeah, it's going to cause cancer.
Wow.
You hear a lot about these myths, and in fact, they're not true. It's not true. So, and birth control is especially nowadays is very safe for the right person, I should say. Yeah.
Exactly. What forms of birth control do you would you be prescribing for people?
Planned Parenthood offers all the latest and greatest birth control out there. We have the NuvaRing, and we can go in that in a little bit. We also have the patch. We also have the various types of birth control pills. We have an IUD, which is called the intrauterine device. We also, if a client chooses to condoms, we also can provide a diaphragm. Some people still use the diaphragm nowadays. And one of our latest new methods is called an implanon, and it's actually a little rod that goes underneath the skin, and that is also one of the newest technologies in birth control right now.
Very interesting.
Yeah, so we have a wide range. And if somebody comes in, we talk to the client about what is going to work best for them.
Right.
So it's just, it's an in-depth conversation between the nurse practitioner or the physician and the client.
Because just because someone is using a certain form of birth control, if they don't have one partner and they're sure that there's no STDs there, probably you would need condoms as well.
Absolutely.
Yes?
We always recommend to our clients that they use condoms because it is a barrier and it will protect from sexually transmitted infections. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So in the wake of abstinence, do you recommend abstinence? I mean, we naturally, recently in the news, we've heard so much about abstinence.
Abstinence-only education.
Right,
And we know
right.
that studies have shown that it's not an effective contraception. Do we recommend abstinence? We always talk to the client, if they're ready to have sex, that you need to protect yourself. You need to protect yourself from an unwanted pregnancy. So, we do tell them, are you sure you're ready to enter into this type of relationship? And if they're ready, we make sure that we are providing the best method that would work for them in their lifestyle.
Because burying your head, for parents who might be listening and thinking, oh, I don't want my child to, it's like not recognizing the fact that, they're going to be sexually active and not talking about it, burying your head in the sand, so to speak, isn't going to be helpful. You're going to reap the repercussions of that.
Of an unwanted pregnancy and also sexually transmitted infection if they're not using condom. Yes, you have to, the client has to be well informed. Okay, yes, you have to let them know there are methods out there if they are ready to have intercourse.
Do you find too, there's different, like the shot, the depot shot, the IUD.
Yes.
Years ago, there was people were getting infections from the IUD. Now, is that obsolete now?
No, the IUD, in fact, that's one of the methods that has gotten a lot of press lately, and that it's a very, very highly effective method, and more women are using or choosing to go with the IUD. I can't comment on in the past because I think a lot of those past studies had to do with another type of contraception that went into the uterus. But the IUD is very safe and very effective. It's equivalent to sterilization. And there's two types of IUDs now. You have the Paragard IUD, and there's also this Mirena IUD that actually, eventually, you do not get a period after a period of time on the Mirena. So a lot of women are choosing to get the Mirena IUD, one, because they don't want to have a period, and two, it's safe contraception for them.
It seems like there's so many choices and so many opportunities. What are some of the barriers then? Why are we still seeing so many pregnancies and so many STDs?
Yeah.
What do you think the problem and the answer is?
Well,
Magic wand.
Yes, exactly. And I think with the young population, and this is just me speculating, I think they hear a lot of the myths. They hear their girlfriends talking. I didn't like the pill because it made me moody, or I got fat on the pill. And in fact, those aren't really validated they're not validated, I should say. And also I think the cost of certain birth control is very expensive. A lot of women in New York State, as you know, where the country is in a crisis right now, are uninsured. And so they can't afford contraception. But they need to know that at Planned Parenthood, you can come in to see us, and we will put you on a method, and we will work with you at your financial, what you can afford.
Wow.
So you can come in, and I think there's a lot of people out there that will actually get free contraception from us.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Free. You heard
Free,
it.
free or
Free.
low-cost contraception.
So you know the website and your phone number is showing up at the bottom of the screen, so you really want to call. So to recap, there's like all these opportunities, several
Many
different
opportunities.
ways to take care of yourself. And if you have a financial concern, they'll work with you in that way too.
Absolutely.
So now what's the problem? You
Yeah,
know, it's
exactly.
like,
Yeah.
Why is that,
call
right?
today.
Yes,
Call
please
today.
call today.
Yeah.
We will work with people. Yes,
Right.
That's
absolutely.
wonderful.
Thank
That's
you.
wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're lucky to have you
Have you?
in
Yes,
this area.
yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of contraception out there, so
Exactly.
yeah.
It seems like getting healthcare information is difficult and a challenge, so that's why we brought Linda Ulrich-Hagner to the show today to explain the Healthy Teens Act. And you're working with New York State, the New York State to pass a bill.
Yes, well,
on this?
and just so everyone knows, I taught in Kenmore. I loved my job, and one of the opportunities of being retired is I get to work with former students. So it's sort of sweet justice. I have one of them interviewing me on camera right now. But this Healthy Teens Act, I've been lobbying for it for several years now. It's been in the Assembly several times. They have different numbers, and what I want the audience to know is if you want to get a copy of this, it's interesting how you said that information is power. The information is very powerful about STDs and teen pregnancy and how prevalent it is. And it's also something you can use, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, I think, to talk to your teens with. But if you go to, this is my teaching mode now, if you go to the New York State Assembly, just Google it in, it'll come up, and then it'll be several little options. Hit on bill, and what you need to do is you have a choice between putting the number for the bill or the key words. And if you just put in comprehensive sex education, that's exactly what the name of this used to be, you will get a copy of this bill. And it's now been called the Healthy Teens Act. But it definitely gives you wonderful information to look at. And it's a grant program for school districts or for clinics or whatever that you can teach comprehensive sex ed. And of course, abstinence is the first step. That is your first choice. But if kids get involved and something goes on, you know that the knowledge
Right.
is power, that
That's
they
right.
need information to make
That's
good
right.
decisions, which is how we started the show out.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Right. How would you approach parents about this?
You know, I thought about it, and there's like, everyone's got an opinion on this, and you can Google it. And then I thought, well, if I were going to leave a couple of messages with parents, what would I leave them? Well, I'd start out saying, I think you need to make sure you talk to your boys. I mean, everyone talks to the girls, but I think the boys are like really important, and sometimes we miss that mark. And when I taught, I didn't. I had a pretty good balance in all my classes, and I taught family and consumer sciences. And one of the things that I thought, there's just two things that were recently in the paper. And I thought you can look in the paper lots of times and find information to talk with your kids about, whether it's a teacher or whether it's students. And one of the things that's been in the paper a lot is texting sex messages,
Right.
sexting.
Yes, yes.
And there's a lot of complicated things about this besides the fact that it's way different than just a picture. It is something that's out there on the net, and it's there. And you have some young kids at a party, and maybe mom and dad think, well, we'll go to dinner, we'll come back at 11 o'clock, and things will be fine. Well, and they might be drinking, and they've got those cell phones. You know, I mean, you can just say to your kids, just ask them what pictures are on their cell phone. You know, just say, what are you doing?
Or
Can
you
you help
just
me?
take those
Right.
cell phones. They're you know, it's amazing to me. They're the parent. The parent, you as a parent need to go inside the history of your
Right.
computer, go inside the history of your phone, take those things and look and see what your children are doing. You know, we're all overwhelmed with doing so many things in this world, but our children are our first responsibility.
Right, and even Ava, when we talked before the show started, said, do you think things are different now? And I said, you know, they're just a lot more complicated.
Yeah.
They're
Yes.
just
More
so much more
technical.
complicated and technical.
Yeah.
But anyway, the
Yep.
sexting, that's part of comprehensive sex education. It's protecting yourself or getting lewd pictures on the internet, which can happen. And then another thing that a couple of weeks ago I was talking with Bill Parment, who's an assemblyman in Chautauqua, and he said, another thing you should teach in that course, and it makes me smile because after a while you speak with assemblymen and senators and they sort of add on things you can do. He said, there's a law out there for the non-custodial parent, and again, that's the guys we're talking about usually. It can be the moms, but usually it's the dads. And their wages are garnished, till the child is 18. So I think it's important for young men to know that the responsibility is not only to protect yourself and keep your girlfriend from getting pregnant, but it's to make sure that you understand what kind of responsibility you're dealing with.
Financial responsibility.
Financial,
right, right,
emotional, social, you name
everything.
it. But the financial is built into the law,
Right.
and it's there till they're
Right.
18. So
Right.
and especially now with DNA testing, and they all watch CSI and all those programs. They know they really do understand
Right.
it much better than they did 20 years ago.
Right.
Exactly.
Yes.
Those are very good points. Very good. And it boils down to, again, being 100% responsible, and getting information, because the information is the power, and then acting on that information. Because just having the information and not doing anything to make a difference isn't going to be helpful
And
either.
and again, I sort of go back to kids talking on Monday when they come back from a weekend. All sorts of things are going on weekends. And they'll talk about parties that happened. And your kids make good decisions, but if by chance they might have a couple of drinks, and that can happen, that whole decision-making process starts to fall
yeah,
apart.
and you don't even need-
and they.
You don't
It's
even
tough.
need the drinks.
The
Just,
peer pressure,
boys
the
and
peer
girls
pressure,
get together
right.
too,
And if-
It's the age. It's the
age that
It's
they're
the
at.
age and the
They're
experimentation and
right.
everything.
Right,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
And you're not, and it's unfortunate because it's that age that's most susceptible to all this, and it's that age that isn't going to feel the responsibility. So once again, it falls back on the parent to keep monitoring, keep checking, keep looking, and doing what you can with your legislators to help to make that difference, to empower you as a parent.
And
Right.
and I always think, don't think that sex ed with your kids are getting a chart out and a pointer and start pointing to body parts, because it's this ongoing conversation from the time they were little. When my son was in first grade, he jumped in the car one day and he just said, "Do you know Magic Johnson has got AIDS,
Yes.
Mom?"
Wow.
And the teacher had spoken about it, and it was a great line for me to continue a conversation about
Right.
that
What it is.
and what it
Yes.
is.
And how
And
you-
so it's
yes.
it's not, you think, well, is that sex ed? It is. Anytime you're talking about protecting themselves, protecting others, it's a very important message to leave to all kids.
Just a conversation, just having a conversation. I like the way you put that, so you don't have to sit down, plan a time, get all
Right.
sweaty about it, worrying
Right.
what
Yeah.
you're
Oh,
gonna
and you
say.
do get sweaty. You do get sweaty. You're thinking, oh, the talk, the talk.
But I love the way you said it, though. You just be so casual about it. If you're staying aware, you see an opportunity, you just step right into it and start to have a conversation.
And we also at Planned Parenthood have a special information packet that we can give out to a parent called Askable Parent. How the parents, if they just call us up, and we can actually teach them how to be an askable parent, how to have those hard
Wow.
conversations.
Wow.
And also, too, the parents can bring their children in and meet with one of our education staff and talk about those hard decisions, and are they ready to make that decision, and how they can protect themselves. So Planned Parenthood is a lot of information
There
that
really
we can help
is.
the parent.
And I have to say that I've gone to your website a few times and in preparation for today's program too. And I'm so impressed if you just visit that website that you've been seeing at the bottom of the screen and start clicking all over. There's like a world of information there
Yes.
on a variety of
Yes.
topics.
All sorts of
So-
things to talk about.
We
Right.
are so
Exactly.
much more.
Exactly.
Great conversation starters, just
Exactly.
great conversation
I mean, it
starters.
took me everywhere about everything: contraceptives, the STDs,
Yes.
all kinds of different things. So it's very important. Then I also know that you have a newsletter as well, and they can go to the website and
Absolutely,
see
go to
the
the website.
newsletter on there. And I know you're adding more things. So if you want information about something and you don't see it, they can call.
Absolutely call.
Mm,
Call us.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
To call, yes.
To speak to one of the clinic
I
staff
never
or
knew
the
you had a
education.
newsletter.
Yeah.
Ah, see?
Yeah,
I
we
was
are so
actually
much
in
more.
that newsletter last year. That's why I brought it along with me. I'm a celebrity.
Celebrity.
Yeah, no, it's very good, very informative, very helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So do you think this should be in the schools, Linda?
Well, I do, and I taught it for 33 years. My heavens, time
33
flies,
years,
doesn't
wow.
it? But I always had Planned Parenthood would come in, but there was a program at Kenmore Mercy that was called We'll Baby Your Baby Before It's Born, so I would try to always have a balanced program, which is important. It can't just be, and abstinence was always the first step. I'd say, kids, no sex is the sure thing. That's the one that will protect you. But they still, again, going back to the knowledge is power. If for some reason that happens, and even these young kids that have, what's the rings that they get? They sign a
Promise ring?
A promise ring.
Yes.
You know, this research says they fall off the wagon. And if they fall off the wagon, they can always get back on the wagon again. But in the meantime, if they fall off, they need to know how to protect themselves so that we don't have a baby on the way, which just breaks my heart when these young kids, are pregnant. It just breaks my heart.
I wondered when the HIV came out and it was so devastating, AIDS, and I thought that we might see a shift in our consciousness, a shift in how we're handling, that people would just rise up. The same thing like with the economy, the trouble that we're in the economy, so people are stepping up to the plate and be more economically, financially responsible. Do you find that at all?
Do you want to know what's interesting? I think that the HIV scare got into this thing when I was saying you've got to talk to your boys. They automatically became players in what can happen if you're having unprotected sex. They can get HIV.
Right.
The girlfriend could get pregnant, but they could get HIV. And the whole shift in terms of conversations in my classroom and they were much more engaged in the conversation. So I do think, in terms of, again, life is more complicated. I do believe that they are concerned about it. They're concerned about it. And with that concern, hopefully they'll get the knowledge they need to make better decisions.
Statistically, that's what I was wondering. It's good to hear about, in a general sense of what you're seeing. And I'm just wondering statistically if we're noticing any kind of a difference.
This is interesting. And again, if you go on the website, Assembly bill, hit the bill and just say comprehensive sex education. These are some of the facts that gonorrhea, chlamydia and gonorrhea are the highest among 15 to 24-year-olds, and New York State still has a very high teen pregnancy rate. And these are some of the things that you can actually go back with your kids, and I don't have the entire bill here. It's pretty and talk to them about those things and say, this bill is important. We want to pass it, and these are some of the things that they're talking about kids your age, and sort of put it like in a third person. But in fact, you're giving them some knowledge they might need.
And right now we know the CDC just came out that 1 in 4 people between the ages of 15 to 24 are going to test positive for an STI, a sexually transmitted infection. So that's 1 in 4. That's a lot.
Wow.
So yes,
that is a lot. But I've noticed, that was one of the things that I noticed too on the website, that you can, if you're concerned about something that's going on with your health, that you can go to that website, you can click on different things and information pops up.
Yes.
So that if you're scared or you're frightened and you're not ready to make that phone call yet, getting on that website, and they're all over the website, so get on that web, get to some good places to give you good information, and then you won't have to guess and wonder about those myths.
Right. We give out accurate information. All our information is evidence-based information. Everything is studied in depth. So yes.
And the studies also have things that they measure. There's a measurement component with it, and lots of times, many of the abstinence-only programs, they have like a paper and pencil test that they probably tell the kids they're sending home to their parents. But anyway, whether they've learned or not, and they don't really have any kind of evidence that they followed these kids throughout a period of time, and in fact, have they stayed abstinent or not. So it's really, you need to look at research that has a base where there's measurable information and outcomes.
We're coming almost to the end of the show, believe it or not. We have a few minutes left, and I just want to make sure that we've covered everything that you want to cover today, because this is all of this is very important subjects.
Yes.
I want parents to know that this comprehensive sex ed bill, which would be taught in schools or clinics, the first place we want it to be taught and discussed is at home with mom and dad.
Right.
And
exactly.
we can help you at Planned Parenthood. You can contact us. We can get you things. You can go in the paper or in a magazine almost every day. That whole segment, which is still going on with that Octomom, is still, that's a conversation starter that'll go on for months if you want with kids. like I can't imagine those 8 babies and taking care of them. And then you think, and the doctor's responsible. I mean,
Right,
he was
exactly.
there, and then, so there's so many things out there to talk about. But the conversations, if they're going on kind of daily about this, that, or I read this, and what do you think? Then the big sex talk doesn't have to happen because it's an ongoing thing.
Right, right.
Very well put.
Very well put. And there's various locations too for
Right.
Planned Parenthood. not
Various
only-
locations, they're on our website, and I
Right.
think I want to just make a strong point that financial resources should not be a barrier for women to access
That's a good one
contraception.
to just spend another minute on, yeah, because it's so important
Yes.
that
Exactly.
some
you know-
people are stopped by finances, and if you don't take advantage of what they're saying now, you might be in a place that's even worse off. It's going to cost you even more as a repercussion.
Planned Parenthood is the buy of the century when it comes to reproductive health care. And again, power and information, you can get the information there and you can make decisions there and get some protection if you need it.
And our local physician providers in the community, the private docs, will refer their patients to us.
Oh, really?
Yes, yes. They
Wow.
refer a lot of their patients to us, especially for the IUDs. And what we also need to know is that there is a lot of working poor out there. They may have insurance, but they
Yes.
can't afford those copays. So
Right,
come to see us
right.
and we will
Exactly.
work with you.
Because
Really?
the cost of raising a child is
There's a
going
lot
through
more.
the
lot
roof.
more.
Yes,
That
That's
is-
a very good point.
A
Yes.
$30
Yes,
copay.
right,
Right, right.
Yeah.
But at
Those-
that here and moment, that $30 is
That's
important
really
to them.
important because co-pays really are sometimes very, very high.
Yes, yes.
So you'll work with families
Exactly.
or individuals.
Absolutely.
Wow. So there's no reason to say no, folks. You've heard it all.
Right, you've heard it
You
all
know,
here
you've
today.
got all the information. You can visit the website. There's no reason to have, I'm just going to say it, ignorance get you in a place that is not going to be in a good
Right.
place for you, health-wise or financial-wise. You want to make sure that you want to make sure that you visit that website and get that information. And we just thank you so
much.
much
Oh, no,
for
thank
For
you.
being
guests
here,
today.
Colleen
Really
and Linda.
appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for
you.
contributing.
Thank
Yes,
you.
that's
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
And, you know, in the spirit of making sure that you stay well informed about what's going on in the community, we want to invite you to Elam Christian Fellowship right at Central Park Plaza is having their first annual E-Mall. Get it for Elam Christian Fellowship, E-Mall, celebrating businesses and the church in the community. And it's on Saturday, June 27th from 10 to 6, where there's going to be vendors, food court, live entertainment, activities for the children. Again, lots of information so that you have
Right,
that
exactly.
information to give you power, to give you choices on a variety of topics. Ava and I will be
be
there.
there.
We're going to have a table
I was just
there
gonna
as
say that.
well.
We will be
That's
there.
right. We try to get at all of them. And also, too, backed by popular demand, I'm going to be offering I'm going to be offering workshops, not free. I did a couple, they're free talk, that's why I'm on that one. Workshops as a result of that talk the last Monday of every month. So you'll have to go to my website, which you'll see at the bottom of the screen, to find out when. So until then, make sure you keep watching because your health matters.
Stay focused.